Hello, my name is Jordan Dulcie and I'm an attorney with Searcy, Denney, Scarola, Barnhart, and Shipley. And I'm here today to talk to you about the importance of your medical records and how you can play a vital role in managing your own health care. The first part about medical records I'd like to talk to you about is who actually owns your medical records. It can be surprising to many patients that your medical records are actually owned by the providers that you see. But under federal and state law, you have a right to access those records and to obtain copies. Now, what they can charge for medical records varies, but the law provides that they must charge a reasonable fee. At Searcy Denney, we're able to sometimes use federal laws and what's called a high-tech request to get those records at almost no cost or at least a minimum fee. But sometimes providers can charge as much as $1 per page, so it's important that you talk to your healthcare provider and make sure that they understand that they're only allowed to charge a reasonable fee for those records. Medical records and how long they're stored can sometimes vary from provider to provider. Under state law in Florida, hospitals are required to keep your records for at least 7 years, but medical providers in which you see in the office setting only are required to keep them for 5 years. But the 5-year minimum is from your last contact. So as long as you're seeing the provider on a frequent year-to-year basis or every few years, your records should be maintained by that provider for the duration of your care. But it's important that if you stop seeing that provider, that you make sure you obtain copies of your medical records, because they don't always notify you when they're going to purge their records and put them in a storage or throw them away altogether. Unfortunately, sometimes patients may encounter healthcare providers who refuse to provide them with the medical records they're entitled to. In those situations, it's important to know your rights and how you can reach out to state agencies to make sure your rights are heard and that you get the medical records you are entitled to. Two of those agencies, the Department of Health and the Agency for Healthcare Administration, are the Florida agencies that you can reach out to with complaints if any healthcare providers refuse to give you your medical records. Under Hipaa, which is the federal law, you're entitled to your own healthcare information, and they should be able to provide that information to you through your medical records. Often when patients finally do decide to get their medical records, it's in the context of a lawsuit, and some of the most critical lawsuits in which medical records are important are medical malpractice lawsuits. And when we get to that stage and you seek an attorney, often your medical history is the most important part of that case, because what physicians look at is your continuum of care, and how your health has progressed over the years can be vitally important to a medical event that occurs maybe 10, 15 years down the line. So it's very important that over the course of your medical treatment that you obtain records on a regular basis. So should, in the worst case scenario, an event arises where you need to reach out to an attorney, you have those records readily available and you can bring them to your attorney, and we can quickly evaluate, without going through the difficult process of obtaining records, more quickly whether or not you have a case and whether or not we need to obtain more records on your behalf. Remember, should you become injured or ill, medical records provide a valuable diagnostic tool. You are the best advocate for your health care, and as a patient, it's important that you advocate not only through talking and having discussions with your healthcare providers about your care, but also looking at your records, evaluating them for accuracy, and identifying any potential mistakes before you get to the point where there is an adverse medical event and you need to seek an attorney.